There was some beautiful introductory music that was playing, which we all missed, and there were some beautiful visuals that were showing off how beautiful the area is that we live in. And at 6:37, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Apologies, everybody, for the mess up. I was really hoping to be in person this year. We had everything set up at the ranch. They were helping us graciously with a nice room. And right as we were making those commitments, the Omicron push came and we said, you know, let's go back online. Next year, I can't promise it, but next year, let's try. But thank you all for joining us, those that could make it and could actually make it through the link. Thank you for helping keep South Laguna as special as it is. So first off, as people are continuing to sign in, I'd like all of our board members to introduce themselves. This will happen pretty quickly. Board members, just a brief 1-2 sentence, who you are, what's going on, and we're going to start with James Henry.
Hello, I'm James Henry. I've been in Laguna almost my whole life, been in South Laguna for over half of that. Been involved with SLCA for a number of years now and really enjoy the organization. The things I'm interested in are architecture, historic preservation, and generally anything to do with the beach. That's where I want to be as much as I can. So that's me.
Thank you, James. Scott Sebastian.
Yeah, I'm a landscape architect. I moved to Laguna Beach about 45 years ago. I've lived in South Laguna for 32 years. Interested mostly in safety, particularly safety of streets and roads. And I'm the recording secretary of the organization by default.
Thank you. Mel Harwell. I saw that you unmuted, Mel, but we can't hear you.
Off, maybe.
Is there something we can do to get Mel back? Okie doke. Well, I can tell you he's a hell of a board member. Sorry about that one. Cindy, you're up next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cindy Love. I'm a longtime resident of South Laguna and SLCA board member. My priorities include protection of our most precious, valuable, and fragile resources, the natural environment, ocean and beaches, open spaces, hillsides, and watershed. I advocate for protecting the berm at Aliso Beach and restoration of the Aliso estuary. Recently, my focus has included pushing back on the spraying of harmful glyphosate herbicides in South Laguna in favor of pursuing safer, environmentally responsible fuel mod practices.
Thank you, Cindy. Dustin Butin.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dustin Butin, lived in South Laguna for about 10 years now, and my wife is part of a family that's lived here even longer. Father of 3, very interested in safety, particularly for families, and in public spaces and expansion of our public spaces.
Thank you, Jim. Jim Denziger.
Hello, everyone. Jim Danziger, UC Irvine professor of poli-sci. I was the co-leader of the 1987 annexation of South Laguna to Laguna Beach, and I'm just beginning my service now on the city's Parking, Traffic, and Circulation Committee. Plus, I share many of the concerns you've already heard about. Thank you.
So those board members are safe in their positions. Their terms are not expiring. The rest of the crew of us that are going to be speaking and introducing ourselves, we're up for re-election. So keep that in mind as you listen to our cares. I'll start off this next group. I'm Greg O'Loughlin, currently the president of this fine digital mess we got today. I've been living in South Laguna for over 30 years. I hike our hills. I swim our sea. I love the community that makes up our village of South Laguna. I'm really concerned about the voting rights issue that's going on with the water district, and I'm working hard to correct that one. John Thomas, you're up next.
Yeah, hi, I'm John Thomas, and my wife Peggy, who is sitting off screen to my right, and I have lived here since 1987. You will see me and Paula, this hairy dog over here, our large hairy rescue dog, walking the Brooks Monterey Loop most days. I tend to follow what is going on in city politics, especially the numbers. I'm on the South Coast Water District Sewer Water Advisory Committee, and have been active in a number of things, the location of the fire station, as well as things that happen on our beaches. And among the current South Laguna issues, I'd really like to see the city acquire the lots at Monterey and Catalina for a park to relieve some of the overuse of the village green. I'd like city get more involved in what's going on with the hospital. There's those and many more issues.
Thank you, John. Mary Ives.
You could almost.
Can't hear you though, Mary. Sorry. We can see that you're not muted. It's probably the same as Mel. She has a very nice voice. Oh, Mary, I'm sorry.
Hmm?
Okie doke. Getting distracted here. Andrea, you want to give it a try? Andrea Adelson.
Hi, I'm Andrea Adelson. I've been a resident here since 1994. You probably know me as the former editor of the Laguna Beach Independent. I joined the board after I left the paper, and the reason I am on board here is that to help perpetuate one of the only organizations that serves as an advocate and a resource to residents of South Laguna. My principal concern at this point is the future of the hospital.
Thank you, Andrea. Okie doke. So 3 more to go on these, actually 5 more to go, but the next 3 are the ones we really want to hear from because we haven't heard from them before. First time we've seen them here. Hoping to become new board members. Let's go, Ann Henry.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ann Henry, and I've lived in South Laguna for 25 years, where my husband James and I raised our 2 children, Julia and Evan. During that time, I was very active in their lives, volunteering at schools, their various sports teams, and all their extracurricular activities. And now that they're grown, I'd like to focus my time volunteering on the board of the South Laguna Civic Association, where I hope to be an advocate for all of the residents of South Laguna. Thank you.
Thank you, and even though it says James. And next up, Ted. So this is how new we are. Ted, do you say Rekus?
That's it, Rekus.
Ted Rekus, very good.
Got it. Thanks. Yeah, I'm Ted Rekus. I've lived in Laguna for about 15 years, the last 10 here in South Laguna. I was a writer and photographer for the Laguna Beach Independent and covered a lot of the issues in town, school board, homelessness, Marine Life Protection Act, a lot of the stuff that was pretty significant to our town, and kind of got to know it through that function. My main interests are ocean issues, environmental issues, climate change. I'm still a writer, but I also went back to work for a software company I started about 17 years ago. And I have a wife and 2 young boys. And, you know, as a parent, I'm very concerned with making sure that this is a great community for them as they grow up.
Thanks, Ted. Ramin.
Thanks, Greg. Hi, everyone. I'm Ramin Pejan, and I live in South Laguna. I've been here almost 10 years. I have 2 kids around the same age as Ted's kids. And I'm a lawyer. I work for Earth Justice, which is a environmental nonprofit. And yeah, I kind of got involved with the SLCA through my concern about glyphosate spraying. And yeah, I'm definitely happy to be part of the organization. I'm concerned about environmental issues, preserving public spaces and promoting public spaces, and safety, as well as just keeping our character of our neighborhood, which is very special. It's probably the most special place I've lived. So I'm very happy to be part of this community, and I know a lot of you already, and I'm excited to get to know everyone better. Thank you.
Thanks, Ramin. And then we've got two of the two emeritus positions are renewed every year. So we vote for them every year. It doesn't look like Jim Joseph is with us tonight, but we do have Ann Christoph.
Hello. I'm asking to be reappointed as an emeritus member. And I withdrew from a regular position on the board because I wanted to be able to open up a position for new board members. And we've been a success at that. I'm happy to see the 3 new board members that are being proposed tonight. I've been involved with the Civic Association since I came here in 1971 when we worked on the South Laguna General Plan with Fred Lang. So I've been addicted ever since to community work and community activism, involved in the formation of the South Laguna Community Garden Park, hoping to get that acquired and expand this village green by acquiring the lots across the street. Been instrumental in the streetscape project. South Laguna is the only part of the city of Laguna Beach that has planted medians. You'd think that was a small achievement, but it only took 20 years to get them done. And we keep on plugging away, trying to make our city, our part of the city, the most beautiful and the most responsive to community.
Thank you, Ann. So from the board, could I get a motion and a second for a slate vote by acclamation?
I'll move to approve the slate.
I'll second.
Okay, so now in the chat, if anybody has a nomination from the floor, or if anybody has an objection, please chat and let us know. We'll give that a sec. Online voting really stinks, but I think we're going to try to vote, slate vote by acclamation. And I think if all of you can see the raise hand at the bottom of the screen, it's down there where the chat is. I'm hearing from a couple folks. If you can, all right, I'm not able to see the attendees, but I'm hoping Daniel can. If you approve of the slate vote, raise your hand, including board members. Everyone's got to hit this, and you can even vote for yourself. Give that a sec. Daniel, hopefully you're able to capture a few of these.
We have 19.
And I'm seeing a number of folks that are not voting, but I'm assuming they're also not members. This is only Civic Association members voting. All right, good deal. We've captured a number there. Everybody lower your hand. And all right, there's one other member saying the button does not work. So add one hand for Eric, Jess, and yes. Go ahead and lower your hands, everybody. And let's see if we can see if there are any objections, or is there anybody that has anything to say to raise your hand? Give it a shot. We don't expect it here on this one, but I just want to give, I always like to give the underdogs a try. Okay, so we captured that. Thank you all very much in this awkward way. And congratulations to our 3 new board members, Ted, Ramin, and Ann. That's great. Fun to see you here. And the others, thanks for 2 more years of your highly paid volunteer work. And to everybody else, just so you know, we've got a number of folks that have come on. We have had some technical problems getting everyone on board. We've got a good chunk of folks now that are here. So we're done with the the messy, boring part of the meeting. Now we can get into the actual presentation. We've got a good flock of people available. But a note out to anyone else in the community that wants to get involved. If you are interested in becoming a member of the board of the South Laguna Civic Association, don't hesitate to contact us. The email's on the website. Any of us that you know personally, every now and then a spot opens up, and even doesn't require a board seat. You can join us and have fun even without that. Okie doke. Sorry, it's been a lot of me here. One more little blip of me before I started off on the meeting. This is the president's speech. Formed in 1946, South Laguna Civic Association was instrumental in creating the South Coast Water District, starting the community hospital, creating the village green and community garden park. We're not here tonight to show off, but rather to see how we can become more productive and effective in our community. So many things are happening in South Laguna these days. Summer hasn't even started, but it seems like things never cool down. Issues continue to be real serious and important to us. We've heard recently that the hospital may be closing. You know, we might not get hurricanes here, but this has to be one of the biggest storms forecast in a long time. We're not getting a lot of direct information, but you know that this is first and foremost on our list of concerns. So we're keeping an eye and trying to see what we can do to help save that ship. Another item that we take to heart is the return of our voting rights to our water board. After the city annexed South Laguna in 1987, we lost the right to vote for our water board, an organization that we helped create. So with a new city council on the watch, we're hoping to be better heard, and hopefully we'll see some movement in the right direction this year there. We're still hoping to see a new fire station in South Laguna. We're fully supporting that. There has been a land purchase on Coast Highway. Tiamo was put back for sale, but the Civic Association wants the city to purchase more lands, possibly the Catalina lots, for additional public use, as the village green is just, it's too small for the amount of use that it receives. So we're promoting the city to move there. Another issue we're working on, the water reservoir on Aliso Peak. It's designed to be rebuilt, and the design was pretty brutal. It was just really straightforward mechanical. A number of us had input with the city and water district to help improve that design as it appears. And we're also working on trying to connect the Cianothus road to the Tuvet Trail that ends there, trying to make an official trail out of that. So these are just a few of the things that we're up to. If you have any interest in any of those items on your own, or you'd like to see addressed, please get involved. Join us, write your senator, but joining us is probably easier. Tonight we have a couple of items on the agenda. I'm going to pass it over to James Henry to explain what more we're up to. James, it's all yours.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad that you were all able to get in. We know we have some password issues with some corrupted link, but tell your friends we are recording this. I will post it on YouTube as I've done with the other meetings. And so this will all become public domain that can be reviewed later. We have with us tonight our two new council members, Alex Rounaghi and Mark Orgill, who we're going to ask to kind of do an introduction and kind of give us their sense of what they see happening with South Laguna. And then we also have Kevin Snow and Kai Bond. Kevin Snow is our Chief Marine Officer, and he's going to talk about some of the things happening with the annexation of the South Laguna beaches under city's purview. And we're asking that you, if you have specific questions you would like to ask, we are going to have a quick Q&A period at the end. You can post those in the chat. There's a chat button down on the bottom, and if you open that up, you'll see that there's been some chatting going on. You can post those questions. I have gotten some emails from some of the members with some questions ahead of the meeting, and we can pose those as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Alex first. Sorry, Mark. Beauty, age before beauty, or whatever the proper terminology is. But Alex, if you want to go ahead, and then we'll go to Mark and then to Kevin.
Sounds good. Well, thank you, James, and thank you to the South Laguna Civic Association for the opportunity to speak today, and also for the high school scholarship that you guys gave me. So I hope that you won't regret it by the time I'm done speaking. So it's been, I think, a couple weeks ago, Mark and I hit our 100 days mark on the city council, and it feels like it's actually been a lot longer than that. But my goal since being elected has sort of been to just learn more about the organization, meet with the department heads, understand how each of the departments functions. I've spent a lot of time reading the budget, because to me, I think every decision at the city, it all comes back to the budget and how we're allocating our resources. And yeah, so I'll just highlight a couple of the South Laguna issues that are on my mind. There are other ones as well that I won't mention, but I'll start with the South Coast Water District. I'm on the South Laguna Water and Sewer Advisory Committee, and I really appreciate Eric Jessen for he's really gotten me up to speed on that. And I did the tour of the tunnel stabilization and sewer pipeline replacement project, which to me is actually, I think, a model of what a good public project is. They had more than 30 community meetings. They had, this was Tony Eisman's suggestion, I guess. They had an electric crane used for, which they didn't think they could do, but they did. And I think it's just been a really good project. It's under budget. And so I got to go under and explore the tunnel. I am interested in the voting rights issue for South Laguna residents. And I've had some preliminary conversations about that, but need to understand all the different aspects of it. So that's something that I'm going to prioritize and work on, and probably be in touch with this group about. Tourism impacts, day trippers are obviously something that is a big issue in South Laguna, as everyone on this call knows. I really appreciate the community meeting that happened last month with Chief Snow, Kai Bond, our city staff, and I took a lot of notes from what residents were saying. A lot of it I knew just from growing up in South Laguna. But I'm really hopeful that the city can come up with a comprehensive strategy to address some of the specific concerns, like bathrooms, uniform enforcement, other issues that have affected residents for a long time. And I think now the city can't blame it on the county. We have to take responsibility for it, and that's a good thing. And I'm really grateful for all the work that Chief Snow and Kai have done on this issue, and I'm looking forward to hearing from them later in this call. The Village Green Park is obviously always going to be a priority for me, because that's where I went to my bus stop, and I remember, I really like the story of that, how it was designated in the South Laguna specific plan, I think is the right word, when it was under the county's jurisdiction, and then someone was going to build a house on it, and then Anne and other people stopped that and were able to get the county to purchase the park. And you just think about what would that whole area be like without the park there. So I'm really grateful. I think it's a great example of the community getting together to achieve something that's where the impact will be felt for generations. So I'm very interested in making sure that we keep that park clean. And I know there are issues now with there's a lot of dogs who use that park as well as kids, and so we want to make sure that we're good stewards of that park. And yeah, and I guess I'll leave it there. There's other issues I didn't cover, but I'm always, my goal is to be someone who, whether you agree or disagree with the final outcome of how I make a decision, I want to be someone who's informed by evidence and always open to hearing arguments and hearing as many perspectives as possible to make a good decision. So I'm not always going to get it right, but I'm here to listen, and thank you again for the opportunity.
Great. Thank you, Alex. Mark, what do you have to tell us?
What do I have to tell you? Well, thanks for having me, first of all, and really appreciate it. I think, I don't know how often you guys have these meetings, but I was telling Greg earlier that I'm hoping that various segments of the community can start to think about getting together, whether it's via Zoom or in person, and having these kind of a town hall meetings. It's just really helpful for us to gather information. the meetings at City Hall are just so structured, and it's hard to get into a conversation and really kind of dive deep into some of these issues. So anyway, I just want everybody to think about that. And I'm glad that Alex brought up that story about Ann Kristoff and her efforts with that park down there. That's one of my favorite stories about Ann. Anyway, I probably have the most information, which is very little, is as it pertains to the hospital. And I have had one meeting with Seth. That meeting was with Sheree and Bob and myself. They were very limited on what they had to say. There will be more meetings. They were just essentially telling us there's more to come. I did try to press down and find out a bit more. It just wasn't going to happen. There was no information. But what I can tell you is this. We obviously all know that there's going to be meetings. I have no ambitions at all of holding on to information for whatever reason and not sharing it with other people. So you will be able to count on me to share every bit of information that's coming out of those conversations. And I think we pretty much all want the same thing. I mean, I'm personally very interested in having the services that the hospital provides, maintain in that facility. There's a lot I have to learn about the history of the hospital and how the Attorney General and the oversight the Attorney General has as it pertains to whether how hospitals both operate and their opening and closing. But anyway, we can get more into that later when I learn more about it. But I am looking forward to that conversation, and I guess it will start happening in the next couple of months. Last time we talked, I think we talked about a lot of the same issues. Some of them Alex brought up. The water, the voting for the water. We've talked about the berm in the past and the estuary and the lots on Catalina. The garden has come up in the past. The public restrooms. What I'd like to encourage this group to do is to start to think about if there's these issues and what other issues there are. I would be interested in seeing a list prioritized. Would interest me. That would, I think, help, just drive some specific issues that kind of rise to the top of the list. It's tough to do everything. Some of the things that we already know are in process, like the fire department. We've taken over the South Beaches. We know that that's already a done deal. But some of these other things, especially as it pertains to the estuary and the berm, and there were some other issues too having to do with the mitigation, fire mitigation. So anyway, I am looking forward to hearing what Chief Snow and Kai had to say about the South Beaches, and I'm looking forward, to the questions and as soon as they're done speaking.
Great. I would say, Mark, we want it all and we want it now. I kid. I understand your position there. We can maybe put something like that together. So, Chief Snow, why don't you tell us what you're gonna talk about tonight? And I know you've done a couple informational meetings, but we were hoping that you could provide us with some further updates on what this process looks like. And we have some specific questions from a lot of the members who have lived under county jurisdiction for 50 years of how is this going to be different, and what do we need to worry about, and do we need to worry, and there's a whole bunch of things. So I'll let you go through your
don't worry, everything's going to be okay. All right, so Kai is going to go ahead and share his screen. Can you hear me? Are we having a problem?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, good. All right. So first of all, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I am your Marine Safety Chief. Some of the comments related to some confusion or maybe some problems with jurisdictional ownership should be gone. The city is now the go-to for the South Laguna beaches, and we're happy to do it. My job is the Marine Safety Chief, so it really is focused on delivering high-quality services for marine safety services and marine protection on all city beaches, which of course now includes South Laguna. And historically, the city has responded to 911 calls in South Laguna, as far as I know, continually since the department's inception. So there's quite a bit of familiarity with the emergency response and also some sort of a good relationship with the community. I've attended a few meetings of the South Laguna Civic in the past. You know, I personally think some of those Lagunas has the most beautiful beaches in the world, but South Laguna beaches, you know, some of those beaches are just absolutely amazing. So it's the working environment is good. So we're happy to be there. Our newest lieutenant is a gentleman by the name of Tom Cantrell. And part of this program for South Laguna was to hire a lieutenant specifically for South Laguna, which is our Section 3. So the gentleman on the screen right there works for me, and Kai, he's one of the number 3s in the department. And he's also happens to be a South Laguna resident and well respected in the waterman community, and is looking forward to embedding himself in the issues surrounding the beach and marine safety. His number's up there. My number's is on the website as well. Obviously, this is being recorded, but he's easy to get a hold of, and was willing to sit down and talk about things related to marine safety. This slide was actually presented at the State of the City, but it's really important to realize that, you know, safer city, public safety progress. So assuming ownership of all South Laguna coast beaches and properties from the county provides consistent services in South Laguna Beach. So that's what we were just talking about. There is no more, that might be the county's responsibility, although I don't believe we ever tried to shirk our responsibility. If anything, we tried to hold the county responsible. And in many cases, we're very successful. So of course, the city did receive $22 million to offset the added cost, which there is significant added cost to provide these types of services at a high quality down in South Laguna. You can see, I don't think I need to tell you, but you know, South Laguna, the area is very large. It's a vast amount of beautiful beach, big white sandy beaches, depending upon the time of year. We were real fortunate over the course of this last winter with the way that the storms lined up. It actually ended up stacking up some sand in places that haven't seen decent sand for quite some time. So as of right now, we'll see what happens with the change in the swell direction. There's some sand where there hasn't been sand for a little while, which is great. So I'd like to tell you that I'm going to talk about every issue that you mentioned. As the board members and some of the council members brought up as well, but I'm going to try to stick with the beach itself and focus on marine safety services. But we know that there are issues out there, and I'll talk about it again later, that still need to be resolved, including the fires, the fire pits, drum circle, the berm, and many others. And they're not being ignored. In fact, they were captured. I'll talk about a little bit later in the scoping session that we had not too long ago. But one little update I can give, I did hear some bad information about the sidewalk projects, and I'm clearly not the public works director, and I definitely don't work for Caltrans, but I captured a little tidbit of information I'd like to share. So the Caltrans project on Coast Highway, the Ruby to 5th Street portion of that, per Caltrans scheduling, and again, this is their current schedule, is slated to be completed on May 25th. So I had heard from people just in passing, friends that live in South Laguna and residents as well, that for some reason they believe that program had been scrapped. So that's not the case. And we did hear a lot about that in the scoping session. So I'd like to tell you a little bit, just go back in time a little bit about what the city's done to prepare and for this major event. down in South Laguna with taking over the beaches. So back on November 15th, the City Council approved the cooperative transfer agreement and also authorized the recruitment and training activities for city staff for South Laguna operations, which includes, of course, lifeguards and some additional public works personnel. And then they authorized the purchase of equipment, including radios, phones, towers, chairs, vehicles, etc., to all be used in this new endeavor in our Section 3 in South Laguna. And so the goal was at that time to commence ocean lifeguard operations on South Laguna beaches, which at our base level staffing on March 1st, 2023. And we were successful. We have done that. We have implemented. It was a seamless transition. The contractor that had been working down there for many, many years basically stepped off, and we stepped on. And it was somewhat emotional for a lot of the people that have worked down there for many years, but they, at the same time, were very helpful in the transition. And over the course of some time, we've actually hired a few of their employees back to us because they are so that part of the beach is so important to them. They wanted to continue to work in that area. So that's been a success for us as well. So then fast forwarding to February 21st, City Council adopted an urgency ordinance to ensure the continuity of operations on South Laguna beaches. So what that means is basically that the ordinances then throughout the city are mostly mirrored, other than some of a few little dog areas and some curfew nuances that were important to maintain in South Laguna. So we had a platform, we have a legal authority to enforce city ordinances in South Laguna Beach. And there was a lot of stress, I think, in the skimming community that somehow they weren't going to be able to continue to do what they've been doing. So did some scoping meetings with them, did some education, presented various programs to City Council, and they have provided us direction on moving forward with that. In the end, it's going to be pretty much the same as it has been for the skimming, surfing, swimming areas, at least as a trial period for the next few years, and we'll see how it goes. We have all indications are that it's going to go well, so we're hoping to maintain the status quo. And then a real important part of the direction that we received from Council on the 21st was to hold a public meeting with South Laguna residents, which we did, and then return in May. So the second meeting in May. So we went ahead and did a scoping meeting. It was really a listening session. There was a lot of comments that were recorded, and those comments will be presented to the council at the second meeting in May. And a lot of the comments that I heard being made in the intros were relayed to us and will be relayed to council at that meeting as well. So that meeting is the second meeting is going to be May 24th. Again, the direction that was to hit the ground running. Marine safety has been very, very busy hiring full-time and part-time staff, purchasing a new wave runner, a rescue watercraft, side-by-side, chairs, towers, a lot of training. We've filled all of the full-time positions associated with South Laguna. We're about 73% on our seasonal, which puts us ahead of our projections heading towards summer. So what that really means is we have plenty of staff to manage our current staffing program, and we are ahead of the game for what we believe is going to be necessary for the staffing program for the summer months, which will be more robust than what the county was providing. So if there's specific questions about that later, I'll be happy to answer them. Many of you may have noticed that there's brand new signage has gone up, and it continues to go up. There's a picture, I believe, on your screen, yes, of the new, some of them are replacement signs, the Harry Crab signs with the MPA. They look very faded and somewhat distorted. So the city went ahead and purchased all new MPA signs, and then also the beach signs with the various different ordinances associated with that particular beach. So they in my opinion, they look a lot better than the ones that were up there, and there's more coming as we work our way towards summer. So some of the things that are happening behind the scenes are the way that we respond to calls in South Laguna now is exactly the same as in North Laguna. We would respond one unit as a mutual aid backup to South Laguna until they requested more on all incidents related to rescue or even on medical aids. But now we have the same algorithms or the same dispatch protocols for all water-related rescues throughout the city, which means that you may see more than one unit dispatched to a call with two people in it, depending upon what the call type is. So certain locations, scuba divers, multiple victim rescues, and certain types of medical aids. So there'll be a faster and more robust response in many cases to the city beaches in South Laguna as there is in the rest of town. Pretty soon there won't be a distinction. I'll just be saying Laguna. I won't be saying South Laguna or the rest of town. So at the next meeting, I'm going to say just in Laguna. Again, we're going to continue to hire and train. We're looking for good quality candidates. So if anybody has somebody that's interested in becoming a lifeguard, we'd love to have them try out for us. And we believe that we're competitively positioned within the market, thanks to the city council, to try to help us attain these employees and continue to maintain these employees for years to come. So the very first day that we started on March 1st, many of you may recall, or probably don't recall, but I recall, it was a very, very stormy day. We had a pre-meeting the day before at Aliso parking lot talking about, making sure we get the gate open at Aliso East and get the gate over at 1,000 Steps or at 9th open, and everything's going to be perfect. And it ended up being a huge storm. We're debating whether or not we should even open the parking lot, but we did because we knew that that was going to be, we didn't want to fail on day one. So we went ahead and opened the parking lot, staffed the lifeguard tower early, and then as luck would have it, there was a full arrest or a major medical aid at the Lost Pier Cafe within probably 25 minutes of us being there. And then all the flagpoles on top of the Aliso Tower blew off because of a major windstorm. So that was day one. So we knew, that South Laguna was going to hold this tradition of being a fun place to work, busy place, and we embraced the moment, and it was actually helpful for us to get that first response in so quickly because it just broke the ice. But since then, so from March 1st to today, we've had 25 rescues. Those are water-related rescues, 237 medical aids, and those aren't broken down into major medical aids or minor medical aids, but could be anything from somebody stubbing their toe to like a neck back, or yesterday or Saturday, I think we flew somebody out with a dislocated knee and even a full arrest. So that's any type of medical aid. And then we've had 940 preventative actions. So that means those are the ones where you say, don't do this or you're going to get hurt. So that's the lifeguard getting out of the tower, preventing some sort of action from happening. And then this is important to a lot of people as well. We've had 6,063 ordinance enforcements. So that means, hey, put your dog on a leash. There's no alcohol allowed, no glass allowed. It could be a curfew violation. So that is the lifeguard going up and telling somebody, hey, you can't do that. So again, it's been, even with the weather, it's been busy. So what to expect this summer? So full staffing at the city beaches is what you're going to expect. We know, from some of the conversations that there's varying opinions on how the contracted lifeguards were performing, but we've had more positive comments when they're there that less things happen is basically what we're being told. Obviously, they had some limitations on some of the rover positions and being able to get out and do some of that ordinance enforcement we were talking about. So what we're doing is we're building on the positives that they were able to perform for the community, and we're going to add a layer on top of that where we're going to go ahead and bring in some roving lifeguards on some of the busier beaches which will be able to go out on the rocky hour areas, manage the temporary closures, going to the pools and whatnot. And then we also have already heard from the listening session. We don't know how it's going to go or not. We will be continuing to listen to feedback, but it seems that there is also interest to build on that same premise when the lifeguards are there. It just dampens things down, and the enforcement helps reduce the amount of incidents. We know that there's interest in the lifeguards staying later, so we're going to see how we can work on that as well. You'll also see, we're already talking about summer, but you'll see that there has been more additional non-peak staffing compared to what the county was providing. So, we've had towers open every day, some towers open every day. Elisa will be open every day, even in poor weather, just because of the amount of people that frequent Elisa. Surprisingly, to some people, they're usually the line at the gate every day. It starts with the dog walkers, and then the skimmers, and then just kids using the park and hanging out on the beach to actual full-on beach use, stand-up paddle boarders and whatnot throughout the day. So it's living up to its reputation as being a busy beach. So some other things that South Laguna's residents may not have seen as much of will be once it becomes in service, will be a rescue vessel. They'll be able to get into some of those smaller coves, provide some vigilance, and basically just let people know we're there. Also, of course, the rescue capacity. We'll also be running a rescue watercraft, the small wave runners, in the summer months on the weekends to just add another layer of vigilance to some of those areas that people believe are remote and sometimes decide to do things that they might not do, make some poor choices. If we're there, we can prevent that. I thought it might be nice just to talk about helicopters a little bit. I know that there's a general dislike for helicopters. They're noisy, they blow sand around, but there is a really important part of the EMS system that relies on helicopters. And fortunately, for the views, for the residents, for the natural beauty of the coves, the steep hills and the long stairways, are great for some reasons, but for patient treatment and response, they're absolutely, a grind on EMS, and trying to get people back up who are injured. The EMS protocol in many cases doesn't allow for that type of transport. And so on certain types of calls, on most any ALS medically, but especially on the cervical injury or any kind of injury where extra movement to the patient is going to potentially create either more damage or extreme pain, a helicopter could be used. So that's one type of helicopter scenario where a helicopter will come in and land and pick up a patient and then fly them to the hospital. Another type of helicopter scenario could be just for extrication. So we have somebody trapped, the tide possibly is high, they might be injured, and maybe not severely, maybe a basic life support, not a BLS medical aid, but moving them around the rocks would either put the rescuers in danger or further endanger them. Then they might do what's called a short haul, where we go ahead and hoist the person up and then move them to a safe place and set them down. Or we might hoist them into the helicopter and take them off and land them on a field and in a landing zone, and then move them back to the vehicle or the hospital depending upon their injury. So there's a couple different types of helicopters. Most of the time you're going to see OCFA or the sheriffs. They have a rotating schedule. But those are the two county resources. There's also Mercy Air, which is a private helicopter. And then on a search and rescue call, you may see the Coast Guard helicopter, which is a Dolphin helicopter. So, and then getting back to the helicopter use, at nighttime, we will use a helicopter to provide light. And it's not only to help find the victim or the patient, it's for employee safety. the lifeguards, the paramedics, the firefighters, the police officers have light so that they can not, you don't want to do a misstep and become a victim. So it's for the safety of us, for our employees and your employees, for the safety of the city employees. So they are important. And they also can assist in the search for a missing swimmer. So the elevated platform, depending upon the surf conditions, provides a good vantage point to look down and help us either eliminate or look for possibilities when we're looking for missing swimmers. So we're starting to use drones a little bit more for that, but the helicopter is a great asset. We know that it can potentially be an inconvenience, but it's important to remember that the people that need the help, they didn't go to the beach to become a victim. They went to the beach to have a good day, and a lot of times they're just people just like us that had a bad day, made a misstep. A lot of times people let their guard down when they're at the beach or on vacation, and sometimes they'll do things that they wouldn't normally do, take extra risks. We try to remind them not to do that or prevent them from doing that. But we hear sometimes that the victim did this and that, and the last two calls we had, just so you know, it was a 21-year-old college gal that they were practicing cheers. I don't remember what college it was, but she fell and landed on her head and ended up being a cervical injury. So she had to be blown out. And then on Saturday, it was and there was no alcohol. There was a 19-year-old female who basically got to the bottom of the ramp and completely dislocated her knee to the point where it was not possible to get her back up the stairs. So anyways, I'm getting a text saying I've already gone 18 minutes. So I'm known to go along with usually a paid audience. So I'm gonna start moving ahead here. And the long and short of it is, we are very, very happy to be down serving the community of South Laguna. We work for you, and we want feedback. And we plan to take that feedback and incorporate it into our operations when we can. And I'm going to wrap it up with that. Thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot, Kevin. I know as a lifelong beachgoer of Laguna, the quality of Laguna's lifeguards, and I'm happy to see them in South Laguna. I had no issues with county, but I feel like the things will be better served having a unified situation, and I'm looking forward to it. So we did get a couple questions, and I'm going to keep you on the line here. You kind of answered staffing, and are we going to have similar, two questions, are we going to have similar chair locations and staffing amounts as county had? And then we have some, there's been a lot of discussion, and you kind of touched on it, but you didn't go into detail about the way the county was interfacing with the breaching of the berm, and what that looks like if and when that happens. If you could cover those two issues, I think that might be helpful for us.
So I'd like to tell you I can solve all the world's problems with the berm, but we're not going to be talking about the berm tonight. That will be on the list to be addressed, going forward. It came out of the scoping at the last meeting, so that's on the list for there. But as far as the staffing levels, or where the tower locations are, some of the tower locations will be moving slightly, but that might be because in those areas we're either adding a rover or another tower. The biggest increase that you're going to see is that they were doing a lot of 6-hour days. We're going to be doing 8-hour days. That's the norm. I don't know why the 6-hour, what the 6-hour day deal was, but it was part of the contract. So the contractor just does what the contract says. So we're going to do 8-hour days, and then we're going to hold if it's busy, based on what the watch commander's recommendation for those specific areas are, and that'll be, Tommy, the guy that you met earlier, and of course Kai and I feel like a South Laguna resident at this point. I've been spending a lot of time down there. So, and feedback. I mean, we want to hear, if we're missing it in some spot that, we want to know. That's the bottom line. We can adapt. That's the beauty of the current model we have. We don't have to go to the county board of supervisors. We don't have to go to, work through me to work through the county to work through whoever. We can be nimble. We can make adjustments. We can make recommendations to the council and such. One thing I didn't mention that's really important too is just the city team as a whole. So, the time it takes to get, working with police and fire on a regular basis, having public safety command staff meetings, hotspots and that sort of stuff can be just handled with a phone call rather than having to go through a process. So I think you'll see some improvements on the communication side.
So as a quick follow-up, would you want members of the public reaching out to you directly? Is that the preferred?
Sure. Yeah, no worries.
MO?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what we're here for.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we take it all. Yeah, it's no problem. No
Okay.
problem.
Well, I'm going to ask a couple questions of the council members, but hang tight. We might get some other questions that make sense for you to jump in on as well. Mark, in follow-up with there's two, the berm breaching is a hot topic for a lot of us in South Laguna, and I know the county had come to some resolutions with how they were going to manage it, and there was informational and tickets and different things that were happening. That's one area that there's, we're hoping to get some clarity on. And the other is, you kind of touched on it, but I think maybe one of the low-hanging fruit options here in terms of your priority list, bathrooms for South Laguna. As this summer's approaching, we've had them at the hospital before. We've had temporary situations. It's kind of a patchwork of things that sort of helped and sort of worked, but nothing, directly resolving the issue. So I was hoping you could speak to those two things.
Well, you just picked the two things I probably can speak the least about. And the only reason is I just don't have any information to share. And again, if whatever information I always have, you can always count on me to share it. I will look into the restrooms ASAP. There might be an opportunity to address some things on a temporary basis, like you just mentioned in the past that there had been some temporary solutions. I think that that we've talked about there might be some more opportunities with the hospital, depending on how that goes, and some restrooms there. I think we really need to, if we come to the city with some very specifics and, okay, we know we need restrooms, but where do we want them? Where would the community most like them? I could really use that input. I just mentioned the hospital. Is that really where the city wants them? We know that we have the Catalina properties. I have an interest in seeing if the city can pursue those lots. Are those appropriate for a restroom? Would the community want those? So we do need some input, and then it would help me focus. And the berm, you're just going to have to stand by on the berm. Kevin, a bit ago, mentioned, that he was focusing on ordinance enforcement. There's still some things that I'd like to get a little bit of clarity on regarding whether or not which city, can the lifeguards actually write citations? I have an issue with on a lot of the beaches that I've been visiting, the trash and the litter, and I would like to see that litter citations kind of be enforced a little bit more aggressively. I just want to throw that out there because it was mentioned as far as the ordinances enforcement with Kevin. So anyway, I will get back to you, and maybe do you have a newsletter that you share with the group? then I'll tell you what, I will definitely do some research on those restrooms and I'll get you that information and you can share it in your next newsletter. And I'll do what I can on the berm. You know, every time I try to inquire with the berm, I just don't get clear information. And I have a feeling Kevin has the same issue. That's why he wasn't able to.
Yeah, my limited understanding is that the oversight is different because it's under city control, and what they can administer and have regulation over is different because it was a county ordinance potentially before, and now we may need a city ordinance. So that may be something we need to push for to clarify that issue. So we'll need to dig into that one further. Alex,
Well,
why don't you?
I will give you an update on both of those issues, the restrooms and.
Could I chime in on Mark's comment
Go ahead.
regarding the restroom? They did put some portable restrooms at the upper parking garage last year, but those are so far out of the way for beachgoers. And I would suggest that they have a really nice portable mini mobile home type restroom at the lower parking lot of the hospital, where it's much more easy for the public to use. And that lower parking lot is supposed to be completely open for the public every weekend and after 5 every day, and for free as part of the hospital's permit. So that's would work out really well. And then we had suggested that they take one of the storefronts in quote downtown South Laguna and make it into a temporary public restroom. And that suggestion just was totally got no legs. And there was a perfect location for rent. Now it's been rented, but none of the businesses there have handicap accessible restrooms. They can't open them. So there is no restroom available in a whole long stretch from Eagle Rock all the way to 5th. So that option, I think, should be pursued as quickly as you can. And that's it.
Alex, why don't you address the same two questions and then see what you have to say.
Okay, so yeah, I like Anne's idea of adding one at the hospital, and I think adding a portable restroom at the lower parking lot. In general, I think we need to make better use of the parking at the hospital during the peak summer days, because I've seen that during like a crowded beach day and there's barely any cars that are parked there. And so I think it's about how can we get more and more of the day trippers to park in that parking structure and then use those restrooms as well. But even if we do all of that, we still, I think, probably need another restroom in South Laguna. And I'm open to hearing about the idea of using a storefront. I think there will be ADA issues that we're going to need to address as we go forward with that. So I think I would like to prioritize building a restroom in South Laguna. I don't have the answer of where it will be or how we'd go about or the mechanics behind it, but I think that's something we should definitely look at. On the issue of the berm, it's something I am familiar with, what the Coastal Commission has said about the berm. I've read a lot of the materials that Mike has sent on that. My understanding is that, and I need to follow up on this, is about when this could be addressed and what the right solution would be and how, and I need to understand the enforcement responsibilities that the lifeguards would have. And so I need to learn more about how we would actually implement that, but I think it's something I'd like to have addressed.
Just as a side note, I've gotten some comments from some of the people attending that there's been comments that even at the lower parking lot, it's still a long ways from the highly populated beaches of West Street, Table Rock. and even, coming up from 1,000 steps. I would say that, per Ann's comment, that I don't know if it was looked at or if we actually did it where, like a Kohler makes a rentable, very high level restroom. You've probably seen them at concerts or something like that, that you could park a couple of those in that lot as a temporary solution. But I think that is probably one of the bigger things that we, that's could be fixed in our situation here.
What lot are you referring to, James?
The lower hospital lot.
Okay.
I agree, it's probably not the idyllic place, but it is something that we have access to potentially, and it's an easy patch until the permanent solution is available, I would say. I'm sorry, I'm reading through comments here. Oh, there was a comment, and I don't know how this looks going forward under city control, but we've had some commentary about the trash cans are not in the same locations, or there aren't as many of them as there were under county control. So I don't know if that's purely a public works issue, but that may be something to look at. I'm sure we're going to have some kind of birthing issues as we move forward into this takeover.
I can answer that one a little bit.
Okay, great. That's great.
I just took a picture of that comment. So this is the kind of information we need. But, one of the fun things we did was to do a trash can survey and get and put data points on a GIS layer of where all the trash cans were, and so that we could make sure that we were able to get the trash cans where we needed them. So maybe some of those cans weren't where they should have been, but we do have some historical data. But what does it really matter? If we need trash cans somewhere, let us know, and we'll try to make it happen. So I screenshot that one. I can also provide some public works contacts for you guys as well, after, via email after the fact. But in the meantime, I'll take whatever information I can get, and I'll get it to the right people.
I think that's great that you're willing to be a conduit, even if it's not necessarily directly under your jurisdiction. So we'll definitely use that piece. Yeah, so I think I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to make any final comments you would like. I think it's great to see some new blood on the council, and I feel like South Laguna is, as per Kevin's comment, I really appreciated that. It's Laguna. It's not necessarily South Laguna. It's not some other piece. It's Laguna. So I like to see that. So I hope we head that way. So Mark, why don't you give us some final thoughts, and then we'll go with Alex.
Are there any more questions on the chat that we need to ask first?
I think I have asked.
Go ahead and reach out, though. If anybody has a question in the group that they want to ask, go ahead and put it in the chat. We've seen a couple things come in. I know the drug house down on Monterey just had some trouble. It's a sticky one. I'll say it's good to know where they are, but.
Well, I asked the question about the difference between the two different types of marine protected areas and the rows of lobster traps with the ropes hanging down, creating an obstacle for whales. Is there anything to say about that problem?
Commercial fishing is not regulated by the city, and so the MPA boundaries have not changed. So that's not something that we can provide any kind of context to. If there's a ghost trap or a trap that's drifted over, we can report those to Fish and Game or Fish and Wildlife, and then they'll come and remove them. And we did make a pledge to, if anybody, we were talking with a few residents about they believe that there's some historical ghost traps that need to be taken out. So we're scheduling some of our dive trainings down south in the areas where we know that there's some possible ghost traps, so we can get them out. But that would be the whales and natural fisheries are not within the scope of the city. Marine protection violations, however, we are. Or
So we don't have to call Fish and Game. We can call you.
for a marine protection violation, yes, but yes, of course, nothing's changed in that respect. We've been providing that for quite some time.
Okay. And what about the estuary? Are you involved in that?
No, I'm not personally.
So
on-
that's a city planning issue.
So a lot of the issues that are kind of coming up over and over again are the issues that came up at that scoping meeting and will be listed going forward. Yeah, so it's kind of I think all of the ones that I'm seeing on here are issues that have been identified and are on that list from the scoping meeting.
Kevin?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
When you mentioned the ordinance enforcement, were you talking about warnings or actually citations?
Those are warnings. So if we go up to somebody and say, hey, don't do this, and they stop, they're not going to get a citation. So.
Okay, do the rangers write citations?
Yes, rangers can write citations. Marine safety can write citations, but our focus is on saving the drowned person. So what happens is, excuse me, we don't get, the lifeguard is monitoring the entire beach, but you know, when they have to focus on the water, they're focusing on the water. So if they can't get to that person, they'll call it in. We'll put it into the dispatch system, the computer-aided dispatch system, and either a lifeguard supervisor will respond if available. If they're not available, then a ranger or a police officer will respond. So it doesn't just go away if we can't get to it. But I mean, the vast majority of people comply with. So not everybody's going to get a ticket. We call them 1%ers. You know, you got to earn it. You got to say no. Doing this, right? And then we go back and make a phone call, and some of our friends come down and make it stop. So that's how that works.
Okay, great. Thank you. Did you intend to have another group meeting with this group after summer? Is that what is intended?
So what council directed was to go ahead and provide the feedback to council next month on what we know, and then we're going to go through summer. We're going to continue to gather information. And then we're going to provide an update. Say, hey, this is what really happened.
Right. And do you imagine that happening in the same format that we did at the Susie Q?
Well, I don't know if there's another scoping session. It's just we're going to gather feedback as we go through the summer from various, from all the intel or input that we get. I don't believe there was another scoping session that was planned. I don't hold me to that. I'd have to go back and read the actions, but I don't believe that there was.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that it's a scoping session. I mean, it's really would be the follow-up to the scoping session. And I guess what I'm interested in is a format that is outside of what we typically see at a council meeting, where it's just a little bit easier to open it up for general comments, but I'll talk to the city manager about that.
Okay.
So we've got Tom Osborne raising his hand. Tom, go ahead and text a question. And some of you were asking to be able to see the questions. There's not a long list of questions. There's trash cans I was just reading here missing. So there's some comments, but not so much direct questions. Tom, are you able to, here, what are the enforcement mechanisms to stop smoking on our beaches?
So that's the same as any other city ordinance. So If there's smoking occurring, then they'll be contacted. If they comply, then they won't be cited. If they choose to continue to violate, then it'll be escalated. So again, most people comply. And you can tell by the amount of contacts that we've had in this is a short period of time. We've had, basically 9 weeks. That we're really trying to get out there and educate people that, hey, these are the rules and this is what's going on. So we're honestly trying to avoid writing citations just because the public is not super used to having the level of enforcement or city involvement on the beaches down there. So there's a lot of surprises. And we are getting compliance. People are complying. So yeah, same process.
And there's a comment about parking situations that's been ongoing with the tourist issues, and people are commenting on that as well. So that's not going to be different for us, whether it's county or city. It's the same parking situation that we've been dealing with. They're calling out specifically between 9th and West, people parking in no park zones and paying a ticket rather than looking for parking. And we've got another question. It looks like John Thomas is posting something from the info line. Okay, so this is the drug rehab house on Monterey. So this is going to be not beach safety, but more to the council members. I know that we're dealing with the drug rehab stuff. There's one right here on Monterey by me at 31365. Says, my husband and 2 children were on a walk about an hour ago and witnessed someone overdosing in the middle of Monterey Street. The drug rehab house is right there. We cannot have this in our neighborhood. It's unsafe. Needs to be shut down immediately. So Alex and Mark, I guess.
I can take this one. I worked a lot on this when I was working for Supervisor Foley in Newport Beach. And so I think the question here is whether it's I don't know if it's an unlicensed facility or if it's a state licensed facility. Do you know?
It's licensed, yeah.
It's state licensed.
It's licensed. I believe it's state licensed.
Okay. Yeah, I can do some more. I'm happy to look into it more, but if it's a state licensed facility, we're very limited in what we can do. If it's a 6 and under unlicensed facility, we can look at a regulatory scheme at the city level. But so yeah, I'm happy to learn more about it, and definitely it's a problem if people are overdosing on the streets, and it's just a horrible thing for everyone involved, including the individual. So
I can say for myself that I know here in the Coast Royal tract, I believe this property is what was the Lamonaco Palms, which then he sold and it closed down, and they've recently been I haven't seen any patients there, but there's been activity. I know that in the Coast Royal tract here at one point we had 4, and we had a variety of overdoses that were happening, and they weren't actually the patients, they were friends of the patients that were coming and looking for a fix. And I mean, it's a whole rainbow of troubles that happens when these things are here. But I think the business model might be kind of wearing out, because I think the folks that were attracted to that are not doing it as much, but they are still here.
That house is being used again.
Yeah, you're seeing activity today now. Yeah.
So I just wanted to interject. I had to confirm something that's back on the enforcement deal. That part of the effort to improve, the quality of life, neighborhood issues that the ranger and that council member Orgill was speaking to. There's 3. They went ahead and converted 3 of their part-time to full-time. So that'll help out, will help back us up on the beach. So that's actually really helpful. And just with and I know I'm not even at risk of being insulting, obviously anytime anybody sees any illegal activity, it's super helpful to go ahead and call that in to the police department so that at least they get the stat. So the worst thing that could happen is this kind of stuff is happening and then we don't know about it. I guarantee, I'm looking at the comments, I know these people are calling it in for sure. But just if you're thinking if you should or shouldn't, you should. So it helps.
Well, great. Kevin, I really want to thank you for being here this evening, and I found it very informational, and I didn't have any doubts that where things were headed, but I have a positive view of things, so that's very useful. I wanted to give Alex and Mark just a quick minute to say some final comments, and I wanted to thank everyone for getting through to the actual meeting tonight, which was evidently tougher than it should have been, but people persevered, and we will post this. We will put a link up on the South Laguna Civic website with a YouTube video of the entire meeting, so that anybody that didn't get to see it can come back and view it. So thank you everyone for attending. So Mark, why don't you give us some final comments, and then Alex.
Well, again, I want to thank you, for hosting this tonight and inviting myself and Alex and Kevin and Kai. As I mentioned, I hope that we can have more of these. I hope other groups in town can start to encourage the folks that they work with to start hosting more of these. I think that the personal communication is just really super important. We identified, quite a few things here that are repetitively coming up. And so I do look forward to addressing them. I'm asking for everybody's patience, as we just heard Alex mention that we're just over 100 days into this. And I think that we've made a lot of progress so far, just getting our footing and getting our arms around a lot of the issues that Laguna has. I do look forward into drilling down and really addressing some of these specific issues, especially, as it pertains to South Laguna. I have for quite some time felt that, there were a lot of things that the city could have been doing better down south. And for whatever reason, it just didn't seem to me that things were really being looked at equally. So but anyway, I'm looking forward to it. And I have a meeting down there actually tomorrow to talk with the water district regarding the Hillside water storage facility that was mentioned earlier and the connecting trail. So I will be in touch with you, and you can put all this information in your newsletter.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah. I agree with everything that Mark just said. I want to thank the South Laguna Civic Association for this opportunity. I think events like this are a really good way to have kind of a back and forth dialogue that the council meetings are not really designed to do. And so I like that. I'm really grateful for Chief Snow and Kai for taking the time to come on this meeting tonight. That was a very helpful presentation. And also just, I think it's a big deal when you have to add a whole new, taking over the South Laguna beaches is a really big accomplishment that's taken a lot of work. And so I'm really grateful for that and looking forward to going forward with that. And I'll just end by saying that I appreciate everyone who, shares their input and on different issues. I think people in our community are tired of a divisive political environment where there's a lot of just kind of you're on one team or you're on the other, and then it's just a lot of fighting, and that's not productive. And so I really appreciate everyone who shares their perspective on different issues that we all care about. And all I can do is do my best to listen and to make good decisions on behalf of the city. So thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you all very much. There's a Ron Taby who's got a hand up. I'm not sure what he's saying there. Hopefully he'll type a question before we hang up. Apologies again for the technological glitch to get everybody going. I'm sorry that that did affect how we got this rolling, but I can see we got a good chunk of attendees here anyway, and so it worked out. Again, we'll be recording it and getting it, but Kevin, Kai, thank you very, very much for coming and showing us a little bit about what we got coming. Alex and Mark, you guys, you're on the council, man. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Anybody else? Anybody else? Anything before we sign off?
Well, this may be untoward to say, but to the people who are on the meeting but not being pictured and couldn't read the chat, we had some technical issues with that, and we will discuss it so that if we don't meet in person next time, we'll try to do a better job to make sure that everyone feels fully included in this meeting. We're grateful for your support and participation.
Thank you for that, Jim. I should have said the words myself, and I hope that we're in person next annual meeting. But I agree, we need more meetings like this. I think it'll happen again with candidates forums and other options. And last comment.
Oh, someone just asked, is there any chance of getting the road paved to the water reservoir? And yes, that's what we're going to meet about tomorrow morning with the water district. And that is part of their plan. And we're trying to get the trail connection so that that all works seamlessly without people having to hang on to the fence and have difficulty going down the slope.
Some folks were upset to see that the road was going to be asphalted all the way up to the water tank. And then as soon as they realized that makes it a lot easier for a fire truck or a water carrier to get up there during a fire, all of a sudden that asphalt sounds pretty good. So it's I think that'll be a benefit for sure. And if we can get this trail all the way through, we're in the process of it, but it could be really great. All right, we will call the meeting to adjourn a little past 8 o'clock. Thank you all very much for joining our annual meeting, and we'll have another meeting sometime before a year from now.
Great, thank you so much.
Take care, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone, council members, marine safety, new board members. Great job.
Thanks.